So, first and foremost, Geek Week news this week.
Yes, what do we got?
The list of Star Wars movies has been leaked for how they're going to release them.
Can I just go now?
First, we get Rebels on the cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Then we get Episode 7.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get the Boba Fett solo movie.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get Episode 8.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get Han Solo, which I'm not quite sure what they're going to do. Are they going to do like old Han Solo being Grandpa Han Solo?
They're
or are they
going to
going to
recast him?
I mean, I could see that happening. Then we get Episode 9, and they're going to wrap it up with Red 5. Which is what everyone's the most excited about because they're going to do a war movie. Or what are they going to do with Red 5?
Red 5 is the only one that I actually think has potential to be a good movie.
Genuinely good. Boba Fett's going to be a badass movie.
Boba Fett had, 2 minutes in the actual
It's going to start with him fighting his way out of the Sarlacc. I guarantee you that's how they're going to wrap it up.
It will probably be a fun action-adventure movie. And they can cast anybody they want for it because, all you've ever seen is the armor. In fact, they could have a whole series of extras that they pay nothing in it and never have him take his mask off. Which I'm not recommending it. I'm just saying, Disney.
But they have officially started filming Episode 7, and this list got leaked. And so now people are saying, well, Star Wars is going to rule the holiday season for the next decade.
I know.
And Disney is going to own the summer for the next decade.
Yeah.
So Disney is slowly taking over the world.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that because I love the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I feel like they've done a really good job with it. The extra tie-ins they're doing with the TV stuff, I think, like Agent Carter, I can't wait. I think that's fantastic. Poor DC is over there scrambling to play catch up. We might be lovable too if you like the CW.
And you're a tween.
Yeah, it is very much
CW.
aimed at 14-year-old girls. But 10 Star Wars movies over the next decade, I'm gonna get Star Wars'd out. I mean, even if I was really into Star Wars, I just don't see it.
I don't think it's actually possible to be Star Wars. I mean, they're really going to be pushing it a bunch with these solo movies.
Yeah.
But
right now, everybody's super excited because it's been so long since there was a Star Wars movie at all. And when the last batch were announced, it had been so long before that.
Yeah.
We didn't know to be disappointed with the last 3.
But it's good to be excited again.
It is, and it's good to be excited again right now. But are you still going to be excited in year 4 when you've got 6 more of them to come?
Hell yeah, because I got Red 5 coming up. I'm just wondering what they're going to do with the Han Solo movie, honestly. Next up, the console wars are getting really, really, really dirty, okay?
Yeah.
Microsoft's now dropping the Kinect so more people will buy it, which is like taking the spine out of your system. Now groups are starting to look at which ones use the most power. They're all getting real nitpicky about every little thing, and I just think it's getting a little to the silly point.
Well, here's
right
where I think it's going to get really interesting. Both Microsoft and Sony have announced that they're going to be doing independent TV shows that you can only get if you're watching on their specific console. And they seem to have forgotten that their primary audience is really good at torrenting. But just pretend that's the only place that you're able to get it. I don't necessarily like that as a development. I don't want to feel like I need to get both of those consoles just to watch a TV show.
You got to get Hulu and Netflix to watch their TV shows and Amazon Prime to watch their TV shows. It's no different. It's their proprietary shows they're bringing out, which is fine. And they're already starting to attack each one of the shows. I mean, come on, people. Let's just play some games, seriously. And I really do think that taking the Kinect away from the Xbox One is the dumbest move.
I completely agree with that.
It is a completely stupid move. Everyone's like, well, why? Because now we don't want it. Well, it's the backbone of the system. Everything works off of it. Well, tell me what.
What was their logic with taking it away?
Because they can lower the price to match the PlayStation 4. And that's the other thing people don't seem to realize is they're like, oh, well, look how many PlayStation 4 sold. It's in 54 countries. The Xbox is in 17.
Yeah.
So when you actually look at the per ratios of what's being sold in the regions, Xbox is outselling.
I think that actually both of them are going to sell better this year than they did last year because there's going to be more games out. People like me, he got both of them to start with, and
I got the Xbox One
I
to start
admit,
with. Yeah.
I still had some Xbox 360 games I hadn't played through, so I'm like, I'll wait, get reviews from other people. Yeah. After a year's passed and more games have come out, I don't really like buying consoles at launch because, I've got 7 games to pick with, and 2 of them will be Madden versions.
No, there was no Madden.
Really?
I got Dead Rising 3, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And prime use of the Kinect, you can call zombies over to you or tell your people what to go do. Like if you're playing co-op and someone's getting swarmed.
As far as the type of games that usually are there with launch.
It was a pretty good launch system for both of them. And so everyone I know that wants to buy Xbox One, they're still going to be buying the one with the Kinect because they know and they see what it's doing. So
my point is, the reason that they're having this combat right now is because they know that this holiday season is going to be even bigger for them than last holiday season. Because everybody that's held out is going to buy their console now.
So they're just looking nitpicking. I actually think Nintendo paid for some of these things because the Wii comes out top in all these little surveys like power consumption and what does this, what does that.
Nobody's buying a new Wii.
Nobody's buying a Wii. Up next, 3D printing on your spine.
Yes! Oh my goodness, I am so excited about this. So A doctor, he's only experimented on mice, so don't get too excited yet, but this is coming. Basically, he's wheeling a 3D printer and a scanner, for all practical purposes, into the operating theater. And what he does there is when you're having, when your mouse is having spinal surgery, he's able to, before the surgery, extract some stem cells and get those, in a nice little petri dish and going, scan the actual injury there to get the exact size of disc that you need to put in to correct the injury, get it printed up while you're there in the operating theater. You don't have to worry about, like, am I a size 4 for spine disc replacements? And so it's made of your own tissues with the exact size that you need, printed right there. I mean, that is going to be a revolutionary technique.
It's amazing.
Once it reaches humans.
And this is just the first step. I mean, we did a whole show about the robots where we could put our brains in robots and things. And
well, that's a little bit further off, although I will be there.
But
in the meantime, like, imagine if you have any type of cartilage problems. I feel like this technology, from what I understand of it, could really easily help people get new knees that are actually real knees and anything else that, But,
and it's just print right there.
And the spinal injury thing, I don't know. I don't want to get too crazy with predictions, but I wonder if that could actually help people walk.
It could.
I mean, if you've got a spinal injury and you could actually correct that.
Now, keeping up on our sci-fi future, up next, the UN is actually planning for a robot future and how to maybe prevent Skynet from happening.
I love it. He's dead serious. So what's going on at the UN is one of the things that's actually up for discussion, honest to goodness, is morals of robots. And they've got good reasons for this, because one of the specifics that they're sending out is if you've got a robot that can go out into the field, if you've got injured soldiers, and it comes up and it notices that, your arm is broken.
I'm bleeding! Ah!
Everyone will say, yeah, it should save your life, but what if that robot doesn't have any anesthetic with it? Is it okay to cause him huge amounts of physical pain by snapping that into place and treating it with no anesthetic, even though the human will be hurting, if it'll save his life in the long run? Most people would instantly say yes, but you have to ask questions about how are you training your robot to think? How do you train that robot to know the difference between this will save his life versus it would amuse me if this guy's arm was a different shape?
I just find it hilarious that they're actually planning for a Skynet future.
I love it. This is the type of thing they actually should be talking about, because I don't think most of us realize how sophisticated the military drones are. Like, they kind of try and keep that on the down low from your average public. They can do some really impressive things, and DARPA's 10 years ahead of anything that we could find out about anyway. If they're seriously discussing the morals of, like, teaching morality to robots, that's because DARPA's got issues with it in the lab right now.
They got some robots going crazy in there. The robot uprising will happen.
Here's what I think is really going to happen. I think that in order to teach robots to have the level of human empathy that we need, they will be as dumb as humans by the time you're done. Because I'm serious, our brains use so much processing for just recognizing facial features and social cues and understanding inflection and stuff like that. It's a massive, massive processing drain. Once we've got a robot that can do that, it will be no better than you and I at math.
So, keeping up with things governments are planning for, apparently the U.S. government has a plan for a zombie outbreak and a giant Godzilla monster attack. I am not kidding, people.
Okay, here's where I'm playing devil's advocate with that. When they have a plan for it, what they're actually doing is they're trying to help plan people for real disasters by making them want to read the disaster preparedness plan. So they've had the zombie one out there for, 4 years now? And if you read through the zombie one thing, like, it's so tongue-in-cheek. And they flat out say, like, even if a zombie apocalypse doesn't happen, if your city gets flooded like Katrina, you still have all these preparations going. Or if there's a tornado.
But you gotta love the way that they're marketing it.
Oh, I love it. I adore it.
And, like, the allegory for giant monsters is, wars happening on your territory, but they bill it as, this is what we do if Godzilla attacks.
Yeah. And it's kind of creepy that with the Godzilla thing, they're like, prepare for a war on our soil, because we haven't really had a whole lot of those.
And so it just makes me laugh that the way that they're billing it and the way that they're promoting it makes everyone think, oh, wow. But then you also have to think, well, what if they're actually billing it or promoting it as, well, we kind of maybe already have a zombie outbreak that we've caused in a lab somewhere. Maybe there's a giant monster buried beneath a mountain. I mean, you never can tell. We can go totally Alex Jones on this thing,
you could.
But
realistically, I think it's a good thing that they're trying to prepare people for various types of disaster preparedness, because whether or not climate skeptics are wrong. The science is on our sides with this, and that means it's not going to be global warming. It's just global weirdness with weather.
Very much so.
Hot's going to get hotter, cold's going to get colder.
It was cold the other day.
Yeah, extremes, the fire tornado in California that everybody saw in the news. There's going to be a lot more of that. So people are going to need to just be more prepared. And if you can get them more prepared by being like, hey, guess what?
How sad
then great.
is that that's what we have to use to get people prepared.
But at least it gets people to read it, you know?
Yeah.
No one's going to read it if the government comes out and says, you know what? Weather's probably going to kill you and your family. Pack a bag. Okay, maybe they would read it if they phrased it like that.
So, that's been this week's Geek Week News.